Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Your favorite podcast, it's Critical Blast.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
And I'm Scott Wakefield, host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham, where we talk about comic books and all kinds of great storytelling, sometimes with incredible guests. And we want you to join us Wednesday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you there.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Silver Sunday on this Sunday. Wait, what's the date? April 25th. So, what's that?
It's still 25th there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's the 26th where you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
see, Pete's living in the future.
Yeah.
So,
Hey,
welcome
those are
to...
people that are still 10 minutes ago. You guys are still 10 minutes ago.
So we are just going to this episode is going to be called This and That, and we're just going to talk about this and that. I am your host. I am Roland Mann. I am the writer of Cat and Mouse.
Barb Kalberg, and I am the creator, the co-writer, the inker, and the colorist for the award-winning Divinity.
I am the penciler on the Fire Rush comic series for Silverline, and also the upcoming Obsoletes comic, which I am starting 3 more pages this week.
And next up is Pete, who's living in the future.
Ahoy.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. What do? I pencil, and I'm currently penciling Trump's issue 4.
Hi, I'm Roberta Conroy. I'm a former Malibu comic colorist from the 90s from the LA area. And I'm currently doing for Silverline the next Cat and Mouse, and also coloring the Silverline Team Up Champion and Miss Fury.
Oven Reeves said, hello, Silverline family. Hey, Oven. What's up? Oven, hope you're making your plans to go to Daytona in September. I'll see you there. You get lots of signatures in September. So this and that. What's up? Anybody?
What's going on?
Pete's got something on his mind. What's on your mind, Pete?
Just working out this page, if I'm honest, but
yeah.
Not a great deal's on my mind. What are we talking about this week?
Whatever's on our mind.
Yeah, this and that.
This and that, yeah.
This and that. So what's one of the biggest challenges? I'll put Pete on the spot here. What's one of the biggest challenges as a penciler, Pete?
Well, learning to draw, being able to draw is obviously fairly important. The biggest challenge is converting this into pictures.
Why don't you read one of those descriptions on your script?
All right.
Wait, it's written for Pete now, not for the public.
I can. I'll read you the description of the page I'm working on at the moment, shall I? It says page 6 to 7, so it's 2 pages. Shift up to the balcony where last issue we. Am I okay to say all this?
Yeah, I think so. There is this thing.
Yeah.
You may have to skip that one thing.
Yeah. Right, shift up to the balcony. Something happened last issue. They stand surprised. I'll skip that bit. The battle is kicking into gear on the outskirts of the city. The Jack decides to go out and help fight the battle. The Queen, however, wants him to have no part of it. He's too young. She tries to hold on to him to keep him from going. He doesn't want to be like his king, however, meaning a coward. He tells her so and pulls away from her. She motions for some guard hearts to follow, accompany him. I missed that actually last bit. I didn't see the she motions. I thought he did that.
And you have to
And
translate
Jack-
this into pencils.
I've got to turn that into pencils. I've got to translate that into a into pictures you can follow that make sense, and you can get that from the pictures. So yeah, that's the most difficult part of my job. After that, it all gets fairly it's just rendering and making things look pretty.
I got a question to ask you.
Oh,
Like
okay.
when I'm trying to think about like divinity, I see panels in my head from a cinematic perspective. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, because it's just a still film, isn't it?
Yeah.
So some things pop quite easily. If you get a dramatic shot, you can just go, yeah, that's cool. I'll squeeze that in somewhere. Now I just need things to work around that. These 2 pages are fairly quiet pages. They're conversation pieces. So what I'll be doing is faces. So you get emotion. There's no one getting punched in the face or blown up in these 2 pages. So you need personal drama. So yeah, there's lots of body language. So yeah, get to draw some faces, which is cool. Some close-ups.
Yeah, I'm still working up. It's been a while since I worked off a script. This is usually the stuff I work off the script. So this is my other job as a motion graphics. So I'll torture you guys with this. So this would be a sentence, no description. And this is, and I'm going to use the name. Aviva OTS uses high fidelity dynamic process simulator with integrated control system simulations for all the major vendors to generate a powerful digital replica of your plan's process behavior and actual controls. And I'll get that, and it'll be like, okay, turn that into a drawing. And I'm like, wait, what? What did I just read? And I've had so many things come by. I remember I worked with a guy who did hardware simulation. He simulated microchips and stuff. He had to sit next to me and translate what I was drawing. I kept because he was using code symbols and weirdest things I've ever seen. And I was like, is this right? And he's like, yes, because I had no idea what I was drawing. I'm like, you tell me what I need to do and make sure this looks right. He's the nicest guy, but I'm like, I'd have to go to college to understand the script you just gave me. I don't understand this. So when somebody gives me a comic script, I'm like, hey, I know what a spaceship is. And I know what guns are, and I know what people are. Oh, this is easy. This is good. I can do this. So yeah, the other one just makes your brain go numb.
Let me pause you for just a second here. Brett, what happened to the stream? Oh, I forgot to introduce Brett. And behind the scenes, you can see him in the little cowboy hat is our unpaid producer Brett, who is turning all the knobs and pushing all the buttons and making sure it all works. But Brett, the stream went away. What happened? Oh, Roberta ended it?
What happened?
Yeah, did I hit the button of end? It doesn't even show.
Yeah.
I didn't hit any
show.
Yeah, so it probably.
There we go.
Yeah, I saw it briefly.
Okay, so I never saw it. Like I can't even tell that it's streaming. There's no indication.
So it's streaming, right?
Well,
Brett?
I have no idea. I can't see it.
Yes, yeah, yeah, I see it now. And so because of that, Aaron, sorry, this is where I want to jump in here.
I'm done. I'm fine.
Roberta, what are we looking at there?
So this is Silverline Team Up Champion Miss Fury page.
Oh,
yeah.
Dark. It's a very nice looking lighting situation.
Look at that.
So this is fun. I thought I'd color it today.
Cool.
Nice. Yeah, it looks really good.
Let's just start.
Yeah, that looks really good. Okay, sorry. Carry on.
I shall start it.
I saw the page pop up. Of course, then I saw it go away.
Yeah,
So,
sorry.
that way. And for those of you who are listening,
difficulties.
yeah, I know. For those of you who are listening to the podcast sometime next year, what we're looking at is a page from Silverline Team Up issue number 1. So you'll have to go get that now so you can see the page. Yeah, okay. So what else? This and that.
What is so? Do you guys still read comic books on a regular basis, or do you read more graphic novels?
Comic book.
Are you still
Are
collecting?
we going to get into this conversation? What's the difference?
No. I'm just asking if people still buy more comic books because I usually do graphic. I just run out of room to put comic books in.
No, yeah, I
I just don't have the physical space to do them. Yeah.
I'm still a collector, so yeah.
Yeah.
Still a collector. Yeah.
Obviously, I've still got room for them.
Oh yeah.
I have a
If you
pull,
have any
I have a
leftovers,
pull
send them
list.
rolling.
I have
You
a
have a pull
pull
list?
list, but it's not very big.
Mine's
Yeah.
got smaller, yeah.
It's only like 4 books a month now.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
wow, that is small.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, interesting.
Not
I was just
like
kind
the
of
old
curious to
days
see what
when-
everyone's reading.
Not like the
Oh.
old days when I was working for
What are you-
DC
what are you
and
reading,
Marvel,
Bob?
and I got everything
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a comp, and I would get a huge box once a month from each company with everything they'd done that entire month. Didn't matter what, if it was a graphic novel or
Mhm.
a floppy
Yeah.
or even figurines. I have the most amazing Sandman figurine.
Yeah.
I
Coats,
think I remember you mentioned. Yeah.
embroidered coats. Everything would show up.
Part of the, and you guys probably figured this out, but that's part of what I am trying to duplicate with the Tower of Power. Obviously, I can't afford to send them out every single month, but that's why I got them back there. And as they come out, I'll put them in the box, and when the box gets full, then I'll send them out.
Yeah.
But I remember we were at Malibu. See, we were on a swap list with DC and Marvel, and so while I was there, I got every single copy of what Marvel and DC did. And that's how you could keep up with the creators, who's working on what, and and of course in return, then we sent them dozens of copies of for all their their editorial staff and stuff. But
what are you reading? Your 4
What am
books.
I reading? I read the Avengers, Iron Man.
Iron Man's really good at the moment.
Yeah,
I'm really enjoying
The
that.
Avengers is a hot mess. Elf Quest and a couple of indies
Oh.
that I'll get one-offs and stuff. I got last year. I got this one indie called This Old House, and it's issue 1, and then it just stopped. And it is such a good book. I'm like, why? It was a successful Kickstarter. Where's number 2? I keep wanting to show up, and it.
Did you get it from the Kickstarter or from a shop?
I got it from a Kickstarter. The and Iron Man and the Avengers and Elf Quest come from my pull list, but yeah, the other stuff comes from Kickstarter. But yeah, Iron Man's really good right now, but Avengers is just an absolute spaghetti pile
I don't think I'll get Avengers,
of storylines that aren't making any sense to me. So it's very confusing.
What about you, Roberta?
Unfortunately, I'm waiting on some Kickstarters, so I'm pausing at the moment.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a couple to come. I'm trying to find what I got here, but I'm waiting for the Anthology of Death. And
Is that a comic book or just something you're interested in?
well, I'm waiting on a Kickstarter. It's delivering.
Oh.
It's being delivered. The Anthology of Death, and the other one is a War Stories. Just a compilation of people's stories about war. My son's a soldier, so I'm interested. But those are the 2 Kickstarters I'm currently waiting on. Speaking of which, we're going to have one next month.
This
I
is
have
the
one
stuff.
I'm waiting on called The Few and the Cursed.
Oh yeah.
And that's really good.
Yeah, I backed that one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they're making it.
Yeah,
Soon.
here's a couple of my recent purchases, and I'm trying to. These are some that I'm trying to finish. The Justice Machine, right? Yeah. Which I think this is Mike Gustovich. To
Oh, I'm also waiting for Dreadstar, which has been held
oh
up.
yeah,
Ah, I
Yeah.
can't wait to get that one.
Mike Gustovich. I'm not a huge Tony Isabella fan, but I like Gustovich. And of course, these. I know Pete will
Oh,
appreciate these.
Commandi, yeah.
Yeah.
Commandi.
Oh,
Mhm.
Commandy.
Yep. Trying to kind of complete
That's
a run. What?
is that that's not keyword, that's Kirby, right?
Kirby. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, this one's that's issue number 7. Yeah, I love those. I love the fighter planes right there.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see him underneath the hand.
Yeah, I know. Yep. And then Grimjack.
Oh yeah,
I love Grimjack.
Yeah.
It's such a good book.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish
So
they bring that back.
So I kind of haunt the back issue boxes at the conventions when I go, and so that's kind of what I've been buying lately.
You see, and we seem to get less. Do a lot of your conventions down there still have back in boxes? Because a lot of the conventions
Oh,
up here
yeah.
don't. There's so many independent that it's hard to find people who just sell back issue comics.
Well, I will tell you this: the boxes down here are full of '90s glut, though. So you can find back issues, and you can find, if you're looking for old Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, whatever, you can find those. Might have to search a little bit, but the tables are just full of 90s glut.
I wonder how many of my stuff is in the 25-cent bin.
Yeah, Barb, I love you, but there's probably a handful of them in there. It's so funny. I go to some shows and I'll be talking to somebody. Yeah, blah blah blah. Oh, I did this and that, and they're like, and they're oh, I think I saw that in the quarter boxes over there. And then they'll go and they'll buy them, and they're here. Look, I bought this. I'm like, but why? Why did you do it? Did you want me to sign it? No, you can have it. I'm like, well, I don't want it either.
Oh my god.
We're cleaning out my brother's house, and I ran across a long box of comics, which shocked me because he didn't collect comics. And I opened it up, and it's all full of my stuff.
All yours. Yeah.
Nice of him.
Yeah, I have.
That's cool though.
I got this a few months ago called Lightfall. It's like
Oh,
a graphic.
yeah,
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool so far. I mean, it seemed like it's very much that sort of cow arts, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like that one, and so I've been that one. Of course, I've been going. This was a Kickstarter, The Spectral Void, which I thought this was an anthology, but it's actually like an entire little graphic novel this guy did. It looks really cool.
Cool.
I actually just saw a picture of the flaming skull on Facebook, and I'm just like, that's cool. I'll back it. So remember, kids, if you want something, draw flaming skulls. You'll get it. And then these are all the comics I've been finding on Indie Planet. I found this one called Crom, which is the first one, and
that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, this one was great. So I haven't read these yet, but they look great.
Is that who's that artist? His name starts with an M, right? Last Mang.
Let me see here. Let me see if they say his
He's
author.
very he's very Byrne influenced, isn't he? Mangrum.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Christopher Mills, story and lettering, pencils and inks. Rick Burchett.
Oh, Rick Burchett.
Huh,
What? Really? That's not who I was
Yeah.
thinking of.
Yeah. And it looks like a few stories, so he may just been the first one. You have that one, and then even though this is a little manga thing, it was called Rain, but the artwork in this was just amazing. I was just like, where did this kid come from? So I got this one. Again, haven't read it. And then Shamrock was okay. The artwork was pretty cool. It was a black and white. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Bone in this style. By the way, like again, I haven't read these. I'm like, oh, I like Barbarians. And Girls' Night Out was this one where it was like, oh, I like the cartoon Gargoyles that Disney did, and this had gargoyle ladies, but he uses photographs for the backgrounds.
Oh yeah.
No.
That's kind of like rotoscoping, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. This
So I
one
got-
called Masters of Edge just looked really cool. I don't know, and this has been my new thing. Is now I've been digging around Indie Planet, finding all these crazy independent comics. So I'm stacking them up. Oh, Nexus, yeah.
Yeah, I got the new Nexus. This is the one that Baron and Rude I guess Rude just did it.
Is that a brand new
Kickstarter.
one
But
they did?
Yeah, I just took it out of the bag. Yeah, brand new. Well, I think it's brand new anyway. I bought it under the assumption it was brand new. I don't think it's a reprint. My
He's like
luck,
a
it'd be
double check.
it'd be
Yeah.
reprinting something. Yeah. What? Yeah.
And I like
What?
Steve Reed. This is another kick. Okay, one more. So this is Mark Schultz art book.
Oh yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that Xena's Odd
That's
Tales?
nice.
It took him a while because the poor guys were like, but it's all like his classic covers and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Apparently it's number 4, and so I was like, "Are there more?" And he's like, "Yeah, there's 3 previous ones." I'm like, "I didn't know that." So now I got to go hunt the other 3 down.
Yeah. If
Little
it's number
hardback.
4, that usually means there's 3 before it.
Yeah, but you never. It's called Carbon 4, so I don't know if Carbon 4 is just like a name or it's so Carbon. But yeah, Mark Schultz is
Yeah.
makes you want to quit being an artist.
No.
No, his
Yeah.
stuff is gorgeous.
inspiring.
Gorgeous, yeah.
Did any of you ever read Roach Mill?
I don't think I ever read it, but I
You
remember seeing it
know-
all the time for Dark Horse.
That's the thing, is that, you know what, I remember flipping through it some in way back when and going, you know,
Yeah.
and I think part of the reason it was with Dark Horse Presents. And I'm like, I don't want to buy this anthology for 8 pages. You know, I want to buy the whole book.
Right.
And so I found a couple of Roach Mill collections, and this is really good stuff. I'm like, what the heck? Why wasn't I reading this in the 1980s? You know, it's all black and white. But now I'm a fan of black and white. I love, you know. Don't get me wrong, Roberta. I love color too. but I love the black and white.
I'm not offended.
I know. I was just kidding. But I love this, you know, this really classic.
He has like 4
you
arms,
know.
right? Doesn't he have like these little insect arms
Yeah.
that come out of him?
Mhm.
Because I
Yeah.
remember seeing this really cool image of Roach Mill, and I never bought it, but it was like him hunched over at this like sort of
You
advertisement.
see that sound effect?
No, I don't see anything. I see
That-
panel borders, but no sound effects. Nothing that looks like an R or anything. You're not gonna trip me up on this, Roland.
I love that sound effect. The way they did that whole panel
Yeah, that is pretty
before.
cool.
I love that. Yeah. To me, that's just really cool.
So is that the first book of? Is it the whole thing collected, or is it just the first book?
No, it's just this is just book 1.
Oh, okay.
I have book 2 also, but
Yeah, because we have Dark Horse. I mean, Dark Horse has been around me forever. They're in Milwaukee, not more than like 30 minutes away. So.
look at that classic Zipatone in the sound effects there.
Oh yeah. Back when you had to cut it out and stuff.
Yeah.
I still have a ton of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I remember the big Dark Horse for Concrete, Trekker, Roach Mill, and there was one other series. Those are the 4 big series they started the company off with. Because I remember when they started around here.
Concrete.
Yeah, Concrete was fantastic.
And
Love
First
Concrete.
Comics was Grimjack, Dreadstar, Badger, and Nexus.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nexus.
and I wish Grimjack and the Crow would come back. Those are the 2 comics I'd love to see brought back.
James R. Barr's
Yeah.
The Crow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. They did a really cool. It was weird. They did some offshoots of the Crow, and they did this one really cool Crow that was like a really short page of this woman who like lost her child. But the way they did the crow paint, instead of like the eyes, they painted this actual crow because she was Native American. So they painted a crow over her eyes. It was like the coolest concept.
That's pretty
And
cool.
she came back, and it was like they killed her and her son. I can't remember the story, but the artwork is fantastic. It's really short, maybe like not even an issue. But it was a really great concept for the crow, and that was my favorite one. They did other ones, but that was one I was like, wow, this is really cool.
That is
But
cool.
yeah.
Wubba says, hola! He says, the newest thing I got was the Brooklyn Gladiator, art by Bisley. Still trying to
Oh, yeah.
track down copies of Full Circle.
I'm not sure
I
what
don't know that one.
I know Bisley that. Yeah. Simon Bisley was who was I was talking it was Simon Bisley. I was talking to some other person about, maybe he was on here or something, talking about other artists that were
hang
like
on.
Simon Bisley.
Hang on, Pete's on here. He's a British artist. How do you say his last name?
I say Bisley.
Bisley, yeah.
Bisley is how you say it? Okay.
Yeah.
I just
Oh,
always
okay.
assume BIS because there's an E at the, not at the end, but an E in there, so I didn't know if it made the I a hard I.
Sure. Oh, you'd have to ask him. I'd say Bisley. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
The E is after the L though.
Yeah.
Bisley.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
So
And there's been lots of
it's not
people. I
BS.
mean, well, my last name is Humphres. I see lots of people pronounce Humphreys
Humphreys.
yeah,
Humphreys.
but it's Humphreys. It's just spelled completely different. Yeah. So
Yeah,
same thing
Humphreys.
with my friend's last name is Fontenot, but it's spelled Fontnot. Fontenot. Nobody. And
Oh
apparently
yeah.
down south, Fontenot. Like down south, Fontenots are everywhere. And
Yeah.
so up here,
all
nobody ever.
over. Yeah, Louisiana.
Yeah.
New Orleans area. Very, very, very French name.
Yeah, very common. Yeah. So, but yeah. I've been trying to get through my Wonder Woman omnibus. I think it's the Gail Simone one. So far, I like it, and that has our little hero in the press, the artwork in it. that I
Oh
like.
man, you knew the one that I read that was crap, right?
Yeah, wasn't that the Greg Rucka one?
Oh man, this right here is a piece of crap. Oh,
Wasn't that Rucka? Yeah.
no, I tried to read this and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? It's just. I mean, it looks pretty. Don't get me wrong. The art's pretty, right?
Yeah.
But the story, I'm like, what the heck? It's just bad, and I used a Divinity bookmark. Right?
There you go.
Yeah, it's just bad. I just
I've noticed that I haven't read a lot of current superhero comics, and a lot like Wonder Woman I think is the only one. I used to get a lot of stuff to the library, so I would catch up on they do death metal, so I would catch up on death metal 3 years later when I hit the library. So I'm always like 3 years behind everything, which I'm okay, I guess.
Yeah, the only mainstream stuff I'm getting right now is 2 Marvel books and a Dark Horse book. So otherwise, I've been getting stuff off Kickstarter. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm waiting on a hardcover graphic novel called True War Stories, and
Oh, that sounds cool.
I should be getting that any day now.
I
And
can't
another
remember.
anthology.
I can't remember what Kickstarters I backed now. I know I've backed some. I think Roland has this too, with things that show up in the mail. I'm like, hey, I remember Kick. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm just. There was a comic I looked at over here, and I still can't remember buying it or Kickstarting it. It's in my stack. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah. So what I have to do I just do this not as often as I should, but when you're on Kickstarter, you can go in it. You can look at the projects that you backed, and then you can check it off if you got them.
Oh, can you? Okay, that might be helpful. Yeah, I was playing when the Mark Schultz one came in because they came overseas and then it sat in the the shipment, the port or whatever forever because I couldn't get into the country and they finally shipped them out. It's like, yay.
Wow.
Yeah, COVID is really. For instance, the Dreadstar was supposed to be here last year.
Yeah.
They got their printer had to shut down because of COVID.
Yeah.
And this, and then that. So it's already 6 months late. But I don't care.
And it's too bad because it's nothing. It's not on their fault. It's like with the Mark Schultz, it's just the way things are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's another big hardcover I'm waiting for.
I'm always. Do you guys? If you have a
chance, on the Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, do you guys buy hardcovers more than soft covers if you have the chance?
Doesn't matter.
Really?
I also buy some digital versions. Depends on how badly I want.
I want it.
Yeah,
I've always.
Yeah, I think for me it depends on what it is and how much it is. I mean, because I'd like to have the hardcover, but I'm not gonna pay $40 more for a hardcover. You know what I mean?
Yeah, strange enough, I think the reason I hunt down hardcovers so much is because when I continuously look at them for the artwork, I'm not destroying that spine like you do in soft covers. I've had spines fall apart, so hardcovers seem to last a little longer. But yeah, I've done some digital stuff too, especially if I'm just want to try out a comic.
Yeah.
Like I'm not really sure, but I'll just pay like $1.99 or whatever.
Right.
Try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for Kickstarters, if it looks like an interesting story, but I'm not real familiar with the artists or the writers, I'm like, okay, the first one, I'll go digital, and see if I like it, and then, if it's really good, I can always go back and pick up the other stuff.
Yeah.
The one thing is, do you guys have a hard time trying to find interior artwork for Kickstarter? They show tons of covers, but you're always digging through what does the actual book look like inside?
Well, and I think what's that, Roberta?
That's hard to find, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think I've backed anything unless I can see the inside of the book.
I'm the same way.
Thank you. Me either. Yeah. Unless it's a friend. If a friend runs a Kickstarter and they don't have any interiors, then I'm like, okay, this is my friend. I'm going to back it. But yeah, if I don't know what it is, because I make if they don't show any interiors, I make the assumption they don't have any interiors done, and I'm kind of like, you know what? When you get the book done, I'll check it out. But I don't want to wait 4 years for you to finish a book.
That's a good point. I never thought about it that way. If they don't show interiors, it might mean that they don't have any interiors done yet.
Which is why I, on our Silverline Kickstarters, try to make sure I'm always showing 4, 5, 6 pages from the interiors.
Yeah. I just told Roland before we went on the air that I got a box to ship off tomorrow full of Divinity interiors and covers and pinups for the Kickstarter.
What?
Oh, I'll ask that after the meeting, after we're off stream.
Okay.
I'm sitting there going, like, thinking, we're talking about stuff. I'm like, that's right, we're streaming. Okay, that's another question I'll ask them, after.
Yeah. But yeah.
That brings me back to this one here that I was talking about before. This old house.
Oh,
I got this 2 years ago. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, it is. It's a fantastic book.
How does the inside look? Does the inside look like, is the cover the indication of the artwork?
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean,
great.
This last page is kick-ass. Look at this last page.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And then you just haven't seen another one for 2 years?
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, they put out the first one successfully and then nothing. Like, if you're going to do
I think this is why...
It's so
this is why I'm kind of focusing so much on like finishing Godlings. That way, it's all done. So no life stuff will get in the way of finishing it. Yeah, because I've that's one. Sometimes I've been very cautious about backing things, especially if the story looks like it's going to be good, because you just won't ever see the end of it. Unless I really like the art and story looks cool, then then I'll throw my 2 cents. And there's one called Lead City. That's a really cool one about an Old West one. And I wasn't sure if I'd see a second issue, but they're already kickstarting that soon. So I'm like, okay, they're on the ball. Awesome. That's great to hear, because I really like that one.
I don't know why you would have a successful Kickstarter and then not follow up.
You just
with people. It's funny. I talked to it. There's a guy who posted online. He went through a Kickstarter, and I guess it took so much out of him. He was like, I just don't know if I'm able to do this or go through it. It just took so much out of me or whatever. And I'm like, well, it almost kind of like, well, you kind of got yourself. I mean, if we're successful, I know it's kind of a lot of work, but it's kind of like, I wonder if that sometimes happens if people go through so much work the first time. They're like, oh, the payoff wasn't big enough. I don't want to do it. And so they don't want to go through the work, even though the people who did back it are now counting on the story to continue.
Well, these
I
creators have done other things after this, so I know it's not that they're not willing to take responsibility for it. I just don't know.
Yeah.
It's a great story, and I'm like, now you let me down, because I'm hanging out here 2 years later, going, okay, what happened next?
I still remember there was one TV show I actually bought and collected, and I sold it when I got to the ending. They did a CGI cartoon of Starship Troopers called The Reflex.
That's cool. I'd like to see that.
And it's pretty old. It's still pretty cool. I warn you though, it got to the very last season, and they're showing like the bugs invading Earth. And like, this is a big battle. I'm like, and we didn't make the next season. What? So like, I'm selling this. Go away. That I could, because I'm like, that's gonna drive me nuts no matter how many times I watch it. But it was like, did they give an explanation? It's like, nope, that's all we got. We were canceled. I mean, it wasn't their fault they were canceled, but it was like,
that's when you finish.
What a cliffhanger.
That's when you finish it off in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the
it's
way
just
you
like,
want
okay.
to do it.
So yeah, that was like, I was just kind of flabbergasted, and it's like, what? No way. So yeah,
Sucks.
but if you think, yeah, I haven't. Do you guys still go to your comic
Yeah.
shop? I need to go to my comic shops more.
Once a month.
I still get that. I don't know if the COVID restrictions are still. Do they still have the like masks and
Oh, yeah.
everything?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I go, but I need to go more.
You know what's
Yeah.
kind of sad is that they
Yeah.
said it's tough, for them because they used to count on being able to chat with everybody, and now it's
Yeah.
kind of like that's really reduced.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's kind of that is.
I go to
Yeah.
Graham Crackers Comics here in Madison, and he's really nice, very knowledgeable, and told me that if I wanted to bring Divinity in, that he would sell it for me and just turn right around and give me the money.
Wow.
Yeah.
If I
Nice.
so, what's the name of that? What's the owner's name? I remember Graham Crackers.
Well, they've got several stores. They're out of Chicago, but this is the one. This is
Okay.
the Madison one.
Okay.
Of course, we have Westfields here too, but that's way on the
Yeah.
north side of Madison.
Does
And-
Westfield still offer the monthly subscription?
Oh yeah, they're big, and they're out of Madison as well.
Oh, listen, I was with Westfield for pretty much all of my most of my college. That's not true. Probably only the last half of my college. And the reason I did that is because the comic shop that I went to, I liked the guy, but he was unreliable. I would ask him to pull things, and I would go in, and he was sold out. And it's not that they were valuable. It was just that, dude, I want my Avengers. I want my Spider-Man, every month. And it's like I was, then I was having to buy them as back issues and hunt them down. And so I just started, I went to Westfield and started ordering everything through Westfield. I would still go into the comic shop, and buy, stuff that was oddball that I hadn't ordered through Westfield. But Kasisi Harris says, "Hey, all, what's up,
Hey.
Kasisi? Kasisi, we're just talking about this and that tonight. You got any questions or any specific topics you want us to talk about? Please feel free to
We have a guest star here tonight. Her name is Shadow.
Same for you, Oven. What do you want to? What do you want to hear us? What do you want to hear us talk about?
Yeah,
We're just talking about this and that tonight.
When you guys went to comic shops when you were younger, I never could really talk to my comic shop owners because a lot of them were just like really weird guys. Like
I went
just really
11
weird.
so it's kind of sad, right?
Yeah, is that what you
Because it was on my way home
Did
from
you like-
school. I would walk by
Oh.
7-Eleven and had a ton of comics.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I
had
went to
that.
Capital City Comics, and they're still around. They're downtown Madison. Westfields is on the west side of Madison. Capital City Comics is the middle of Madison, and Graham Crackers is on the east side of Madison. So there's three of them, but Madison's a big city. So, but the owner there, Bruce Ayers, he's been around for 40 years, and Capital City Comics is a well known, and he was so knowledgeable. I mean, but he's also a bit of an elitist.
Yeah.
Oh, one of those guys.
Yeah, but he never made me feel like I was weird for being a young woman walking into a comic shop, and for that I thank him. I was in there looking for Elf Quest and other things like that, fantasy stuff, and he'd say, "Well, you should try this one," and he always had good suggestions. And I mean, that was back. Obviously, this was back in early '80s, so there wasn't any online presence for comics then. And I would like count down the days to my next issue. It was like, oh my God, I got to get there. And as soon as I'd heard they are out, I'd make the drive. It was a long drive. I didn't care. I had to have my comics. I had to have my fix.
Isn't it funny that back then, even without the internet and all that stuff, you knew when your comic was supposed to be out?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, I knew when the next issue of Spider-Man was supposed to be on the stands.
Yeah, the week it was supposed to drop, I'd call every day. Is it in? Is it in? And it was black and white too, so
I can remember that during the Image days. Is it in? No, and it never will be. Quick call.
Right? Yeah.
Because that's when you used to rely on it being in on time, and then the '90s hit. I love your Image. You got great stuff, but the early Image days, it's like, when is it coming out? And they're like, I don't even know if they're still making comics, are they?
Yeah. Image had some serious issues when they first got started, but
yeah.
But people were willing to wait, and that
That's
was the big thing.
Yeah.
They had a rabid following. They had
Yeah, they
Very
did. That was
loyal.
the era of the superstar artist.
I think they still do, don't they? Those guys. That's
Yeah,
what they do.
Yeah.
yeah, I think so.
I don't. Yeah, I think they do. Spawn does. I think Eric. I think Savage
So
few of
Rabbit
them,
does.
so
I'm not
few
sure.
of them
Are
draw
those the
anything
two only
anymore,
ones?
Yeah,
or make anything.
No, I don't
I
think
actually
so.
worked for Image for a few books. I
Did
did.
you?
They did. Mike Barron did his Badger through Image for several issues, and I inked that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
how did that go? How did what was what? Do you have any idea what Mike's experience with Image was? I've heard mixed. I've heard very mixed.
Honestly, I
with
don't
Image.
remember.
Oh, you don't remember?
I don't. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
There's something to be said. I think these days, the kind of the prestige of having the prestigious Image eye on there. But I've heard a lot more negative than positive from the creator aspect of working with Image. Over the
Really?
last decade. Yeah,
I got paid.
I've heard it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I've
would
heard a
remember
lot
that I
of.
didn't. Now,
Yeah, it was a little
comics.
Image Eye. I've heard that now a lot of people have to pay for the print runs for
Yes,
Image. Like Image
right.
is kind of
That's some
which
of
I
what
was
I've
like,
heard.
yeah.
Yeah, I heard.
Which I'm like, well then
What's the point?
that's pretty much what I was saying of like,
Yeah.
well the whole point of going with the publisher is so they can cover the print run. If they're not
Yeah.
going to cover the print run. It's like, well,
Well,
okay.
and I think some of it has to do with getting that prestigious, eye on the cover.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of have to question, what's that worth? Because
A lot of
Soul.
what's that?
Yeah.
Your
said your
soul.
yeah.
Cassisi says, I do have a question. He says, you all have worked on a lot of comics in your career. What would you say were the most influential projects in both your career and in your skill set? They might be the same thing.
Oh boy.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it
Well,
is.
I'd say
worked on that
working
many
on
comics.
Iron Man because man, that was a lot of metal.
Iron Man?
I got to getting to play around with metal. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. It's like the most.
I mean, I could say the entire run of Primal Force for DC, or I could say, Impulse. Well, Impulse was probably the most influential because I spent 2.5 years on it for DC. Spider-Man for Marvel. But if we're going to be brutally honest, if Adventure Comics hadn't hired me to do 11 issues of Planet of the Apes, that was my first series. If they wouldn't have taken a chance on me, and my ink sucked on that, I can absolutely say that. I was just starting out. My line weights were horrid.
Now, was that Kent Burrows or MC Wyman? Kent Burrows, okay.
Kent Burrows. If they wouldn't have taken a chance on me and hired me for that, then everything else would be moot at this point. So I would have to say that run on the, and every issue I improved. So the 11 issue run I did on Planet of the Apes many moons ago, that was probably my most influential and taught me the most.
Yeah.
And as far as technique is concerned, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 30 years, and I still study all kinds of. I mean, look, here's another. What I've been studying right now is Mandrake on this Kroos.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this stuff is freaking amazing, and I look at his so much like Wrightson.
Yeah, Tom's something else.
Tom Mandrake.
Nice.
Oh my God! And I can look at this stuff, and I can learn new stuff every page that I don't. And I'm 30 years in, and I'm still learning stuff every day. So as far as technique is concerned, it's an evolving door.
Yeah, and you should be, I think, always learning. So, go ahead.
Tom was one of our teachers at school.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, because Tom Mandrake, Jan Dersimer,
right,
who's his wife, and Sean Mandrake, who's their daughter, all teach at the school. So Sean's a colorist and an artist. Jan obviously did Star Wars for donkey's years.
Her stuff is gorgeous.
Yeah,
but Tom would Tom basically just goes to inks. His pencils are so they're so rough, and then he just puts ink on the paper, and he just draws with the ink. And he'd bring in these pages and just put them on the wall. You'd sit there and think, never gonna be able to do that.
I know. It's just
insane.
stunning.
Didn't
It's
Kubert
just
do
beautiful
that
work.
after a while?
Yeah.
The original Joe Kubert. I
Yeah.
think he actually just started going straight to inks and just kind of like dumping it on there. Jim Lee does that sometimes. He'll just literally dump ink on the pages and move it around and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this page. It's just gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, that is nice.
And it's just like how does he do that? I mean, he has such a feel for the way cloth falls, which is really hard for me. I have to look at examples, especially if I'm working on something that's really rough. I'm like, okay, we're going to put folds here. I have to bring up examples of what I want. I have to look at them. It's like, okay, we're going to do folds like this.
Mm-hmm.
I still do that.
Do you guys still focus more on technical drawing stuff or more storytelling? It seems like more in the years I've actually been trying to learn more like how to use comic book language to tell stories. And I'm just curious if anyone wants like
Wallywood's 22 panels is your friend.
Wallywood's.
Which one?
Hang on, I got it right here.
Wallywood's.
Oh, 22 panels. I don't think I've ever
22
seen
panels at work. 22 panels that always work. That should be your friend.
Okay, I need to get that then. I don't think I've gotten. Yeah, because I've just been studying different ways of
just Google it. You can
storytelling and
find
stuff.
all kind of image. You can find. Oh yeah, Barb's got it right there. Find it out. It's all over the internet. Yep.
Okay.
There it is. And if you, it's interesting, because I actually use this page in my class, kind of demonstrate some, camera shots in that. And of course, a lot of my students are, yeah, that's because I tell them, hey, what you learn here, you can carry over to your film and your television and stuff like that. They're like, yeah, but this is comic books. Well, it is brilliant because University of Michigan students took the 22 panels that always work and converted them to video. So when you look at them, they go and they suddenly become, camera shots. And it's like, oh, this is brilliant. So I include that in my, in the class as well. And they can see that it can work in cameras too.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got several expositions where people are just talking, you're going to end up using some of these shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do some of my. I have one issue that's mostly just a dialogue. The way my story's fallen, I've had one issue that's one huge battle, but the next issue is all dialogue. The one issue is one battle, and it was not meant to go that way. It just happened because it's made to be one book. But yeah, I tried to. I use a lot of props when this is storytelling. Like I have one. He gets a book. He's like somebody shows him a book. And so when I draw the character, I show him like holding the book, like almost animating, like holding the book, like he's opening it, he closes it, he's holding like this from panel to panel. So I actually animate what he's doing panel to panel just to give something like this is what they're really doing. Does that make sense? I guess like panel to panel. So I've been playing with stuff like that. Owen used to do that a lot. He was really good at doing panel to panel stuff and then longer panels and stuff. So yeah, I don't know, just playing with, acting in my comics, I guess the way my characters would act or whatever. I don't know. I just some type of I like the technical stuff, but I think I'm more like if people can see what's going on in my stuff, then I'm happy. I used to have a hard time with people being able to see what's happening in my work. So the fact that I've actually got that down, then I'm like, okay, technical stuff. Now I want to work on storytelling. I guess it's pushed me into that sort of interest.
I think, of course, Pete was talking earlier about body language and stuff. I think that's probably one of the most important things that an artist can do is figure out, how can you give these people, these characters, aliens, whatever, how can you give them a visual language that's without the words? How can you make their bodies and their faces have expressions that can communicate something to a reader? Mm-hmm. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
Mark Nelson is the absolute master of alien life forms, drawing them stuff like that. He can make anything look real. And
Why do I know that? What did I know the name Mark Nelson?
Grazing Dinosaur Press. He's been around forever. His
Yeah.
his stuff is so detailed and beautiful, and it's all aliens. He doesn't do humans, I don't think anymore. But I think he's got a couple of books out too on how to design realistic aliens
Yeah.
and make them
Yeah.
work.
I'd
That's
say
some of my. The other thing I was going to say is I've been actually using negative space more in my comic
Mhm.
to distill certain scenes. Like this page here, this is kind of so it's even though it's a full page spread, that's all you see, this girl, and then the negative space. So I've been playing, and then I had another one where not
but
trying to fill
oddly
it
no
up.
sound effects, huh?
No sound effects, no. But like I had this one guy that was kind of had to answer a hard question, this king in my story, and he kind of eventually gave in, and they kind of show to me a little bit of like that sort of disparity. I put him on one side of the panel, like way, like let me see here, like way over here, and then the dialogue is way over here, separated with just negative space in the middle. They kind of show almost that like, and I just kind of playing because I've seen people do that in comics. Like, this is really interesting. It's almost like playing with the actual language of comics. So you can actually
Yeah.
use space and negative space to distill
McLeod,
quiet scenes and hardship.
yeah,
Yeah, he
McLeod
talks
has
about that a lot.
he has a good little section in his book on that kind of thing.
In college,
Yeah.
we had to do an exercise with negative space where they brought a 10-speed bicycle and put it up there, and you had to draw it using only negative space. It was amazing.
It's hard. I've done stuff like that. It's hard
Wow.
though. Yeah. That's almost kind of a little bit like the contour. We had to like draw the shoe without lifting your pencil,
Mm-hmm.
and just,
Mhm.
that stuff is really hard, but it's fun.
30-second exercises. Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of, you were talking about alien anatomy. I always kept these on hand. It was Hogarth's Dynamic Anatomy.
I
Oh,
love that
yeah.
book.
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
Atlas, Steve Rogers Peck
Mhm.
Atlas of Human Anatomy. And I even drilled holes in this and it took the spine off so
Yeah.
I could put rings in it so I could lay it.
I've got both those.
Did you guys
Cool.
ever use Bridgman's guide?
But
Did you
since Roberta turned me on to apps, the hand and the head apps and
Isn't that
Yeah.
cool?
apps, oh my God, they're
It's so
game
awesome.
changers. Just absolute game changers.
Seriously.
I'll probably never crack a spine again.
Yeah,
Those
it's
are
fun.
awesome. I love them. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah.
So I'll go back and answer Cassisi's question. I think probably, of course, it's always hard to guess or know, but I would say maybe the most influential project he just posted another one. Influential project in my career was probably the BattleTech miniseries that I did, because yeah, it was based on or at least at the time anyway, it was a very successful gaming system. They had 12, 13, 16 novels out. It was a very big world, and so it was kind of high profile. But I did that one about the same time as I did the Lita Ford comic, and both of those were kind of high profile. So I'd say those were probably influential because they got attention from people who probably didn't notice the other comics. As far as my skill set, I don't know that those were the same. I would say probably one of the adaptations that I had to work on probably really pushed me, because I was doing mostly Marvel style when I first started, because I was a big Marvel zombie. And when I did an adaptation, then I had to do the full script because it had to be approved through the licensor. So I couldn't just do a Marvel style because they couldn't see anything. I had to do a full script. So yeah, he's got a follow-up question.
Wow.
He said, are you all working on other comic skill sets, or are you focusing on mastering your strongest? For instance, if you're strong at art, pencil, ink, color, etc., do you try to letter or write, or vice versa? Well, that's a good question.
Man, right now I think like I said, I think mine's more storytelling. Coloring is a new thing. I wasn't going to color Godlings. It was going to be black and white, and I wanted to pitch it to Action Lab, and I remember I talked to this guy there, and he's like, "Yeah, they don't look at anything that's not colored. They just won't look at anything that's not colored." I'm like, "Oh, so maybe I should color my comic." And I don't think I'm very good at color, so that's been a learning curve for me. So that's something people say they like my colors. I'm still asking them exactly what do you like about my colors, so you can tell me what I'm doing right. Because I'm not, I'm always kind of guessing that this does seem to go right, But a lot of people seem to. I use Cooler. I don't know if you guys ever use Cooler when you do colors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever use that, Barbara? Cooler?
I've
What is
never heard
that?
of it.
What is that?
It's a Kuler. You just go online. What it is you take a color off Photoshop or whatever, and it's like color combination like monochromatic,
Oh,
split complement, whatever. You plug the color into your main color, and it'll basically generate all the other colors that would go with that color.
I use mood boards.
Yeah, same concept. I use these just because that's what I'm getting. But as far as I was going to answer that first question, is like learning stuff. This is my Goblins. So the Goblins I'm doing is I'm redoing the book. This is so it's been done. This is very old. So I don't think I don't know how many of you guys knew this. So my Goblins has been done. I'm redoing it. And the idea of revisiting your old artwork and looking at it and improving has been untold amounts of information and growing.
Yeah.
So I'm actually dissecting what worked and didn't work in this and going back. And it's helped me understand where I went wrong, where I need to improve. And so, yeah, it's done that.
It's funny that he should ask that question because I spent 30 years as an inker and only an inker. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago that after I hit my 60s, when I hit 60, I decided if I was ever going to learn something, it was going to have to be now. So I started to stretch. And that's when I created Divinity. So it's the first book I've ever created on my own. And I'm co-writing it with an RA. I've only written one other story in the history of my career, and that was an ElfQuest story. So I'm co-writing this. I created it, and a year ago, this past Christmas, I started coloring, which I've never done in my life either. And I have taught myself a lot, not as much as Roberta, obviously. I'm teaching myself a lot. So yes, I've really stretched and pushed the envelope in the last 2 years in doing things I've never tried before or even had the courage to try. But now I'm to that age where I'm like, F it. If I'm going to do it, it's going to be now.
Yeah, well, also, you spent, as you said, you spent 30 years doing the inking. And I think this is what, before I answer the question, I think one of the things that about Kazisi's question, one of the things that I have a tendency to recommend is that starting out, when you're starting out, if you're first trying to get in, trying to do all of them is generally not a good idea. Because most of the times people aren't going to be equally good at writing, penciling, inking, coloring, lettering, right? They're just not. They're going to be better at one of those things. Figure out which one of those things.
I know anomaly.
Figure out figure out which one of those things you're better at and focus on that and get to where you're pretty good or you feel comfortable with that. Now, it goes back to the other thing is that I don't know that I don't know that as an artist we should ever be happy like, oh, good, I've finally reached a place where I'm an expert. Yeah. I don't know that that's a good thing because then maybe you should quit. But I do think that if you're just starting out, figure out which one thing that and here's the other thing: the one thing that you're better at might not be the one thing that you really want. So you might be better at inking, but you're like, yeah, but I really want a pencil. Well, okay, focus on your inks, get in, get your name established and get your credentials established as an inker. Those opportunity, and you could continue to work on your pencils. Those opportunities for pencils will then naturally arise. But if you try to do it before you're really ready, then you might be shooting yourself in the foot for that. Yeah. So, all right. So, somebody else want to answer the question?
What was the question?
I don't remember the question.
The question is, are you working on other comic skill sets, or are you focusing on mastering your strongest? For instance, if you're strong at art, pencils, do you work on the inks, or do you try to letter? You try to write? Do you try to master the other skill sets?
No.
No.
I think
No, that's not true. I can color.
Uh-huh.
I've also been taught to color and letter, and I can do it all if I need to. I can't say I don't think I'm a very good colorist. I'm a passable letterist. You know, I wouldn't create any logos or anything like that for you, but I can letter a comic book. So I know what I want to do, and I will focus on trying to be the best I can at that. And when I make my own stuff, I can do my own thing when I want to.
Yeah. Roberta?
Only for me.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I think I would like to do a little bit more something like inking, but I think the amount of practice time I just can't fit. So
Yeah.
I would like to put that on my definitely want to do list.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not done learning, and I'm not done trying, and I still have a ton more skills to learn in coloring. So it's like,
Yeah.
you're always doing something.
Yeah, and that goes back to I think you as creators, as artists, you should always be learning. I know that for me to answer the question, if I were 18, 19, 25, I might say, oh, I would like to learn some of these other skill sets, but no, not now. The writing and the lettering, that's enough for me. And I think part of it is because I know how much time it takes to pencil and to do those pages and to perfect them. I know how much time it takes to ink and to become a good inker. I know how much time it takes to color and become a good colorist. And quite frank, I just don't have that time.
Besides, you're learning how to be a publisher, aren't you?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to do that too. So for me, I'd say the answer is no. But I'm kind of like Pete though. It's like I know what I want to do. I want to write stories, and so why am I going to why would I sidetrack what I really want to do by trying to learn to color? And I have thought about those things before. I have thought, because like Pete said, he does it for himself. There's always that thing. Well, if I knew how to do all this, if I could pencil and I could just do my own thing and wouldn't have to worry, and then it'd be all me. If I got mad at anybody, it's me. Come on, Roland, why aren't you penciling this page? But it's just it takes up a lot of time. So I want to focus on the thing that I want to do.
I think I'm really proud of Barb that she could do an entire comic like that. It's amazing.
I'm retired too, don't forget.
True, but still, I mean, just to have the continued drive to keep pushing on all the steps that need to happen. It's a lot to do. So it's amazing.
It's I think too when I design my, because strange enough, doing obsoletes, I think it's one of the first times I've done a comic or somebody else. I've always done it my own. And so, but when I approach projects, I approach them with more of a design sense. Like all the issues of my Goblins all kind of look the same. There's an idea of, so sometimes I won't approach each comic with the same skill set, I guess, if that makes sense. Trying to find ways to incorporate the page, make the pages look old. I was like, can I do a comic in pencils without the inks? I'm always experimenting. And sometimes that experimenting can bite you in the ass or not. But I do think I sometimes approach projects was like I have an overall image and look of what the product will be like. So I think a little bit of it's designing plus art. So there'll be some stuff that I will change the way I draw certain things or whatever. So
yeah, it was either push myself or learn how to make rag rock choice. Undecided comics.
Well, so you've written the first 4 issues of Divinity, right, Barb?
They're laid out. We've got script through 3. We don't have the script through 4 yet.
Okay.
And RA is scripting it, and because I still haven't I still haven't reached the level where I'm confident. Even though I did a 6-page story for ElfQuest a long time ago for one of their summer specials, and I scripted that. So I don't know why I'm
Okay.
scared. I don't know why I'm scared to approach scripting an entire.
Well, you heard what happened with it was Mike Mignola and Kurt Busiek. I think it was Kurt Busiek. That story where Mike Mignola didn't think he could write at all, so he had Kurt, like, you do all the dialogue and everything. I can't write. And eventually Mike kept sending him all this stuff that Kurt's like, I don't understand why you're having me write it when the stuff you're sending me is just fantastic. I'm just translating. It's like, why am I even doing this? So Mike he just didn't think he could not write at all. And then he's like, okay, I guess I'll write. Now he's been writing it for years. So yeah, it's strangely enough, there's a lot of people that have, I can't do this, and then they'll get somebody else to, and then they'll find out the writer's like,
Yeah, I'm a decent writer.
Yeah.
I sit down and I write fan fiction all the time, and it's fantastic. But that's a literary style. In order to script something, you have to completely get in a different mindset. And there's a big difference between writing a story and scripting, either for TV or comics. It's a completely different mindset. Do you know what I'm talking about, Roland?
You're mute, Roland.
Roland, you're mute.
Yeah,
There you go.
sorry. Brett was just coming in here and said that we're dropping some frames a little bit on the stream. So I was trying to see about that. Yeah, I absolutely know what you're talking about. And this is one of the things that I try to, in my writing class, one of the things I try to teach the writers is that, people have a tendency to think of writing as just writing. And I know you artists know the same thing, but there's so many different kinds of writing. So let me just kind of give you a little tidbit of one of the things I tell them in class, right? So when you're writing prose, you as the writer are writing for the consumer, right? The reader reads every single word you write, right? You write fiction, you write prose, they read it all. When you write for when you write for film or television, they read zero. They don't read any of your words at all, the consumer, right? Because your words are read by the actors, they're read by the directors, they're read by the people who put it together. But the consumer reads zero. They don't read any of your words. Comics, there's a mix, right? In comics, you write for the consumer, which is the text on the page, the dialogue, the thoughts, the captions, and the sound effects, except for Aaron's books, right? Mm-hmm. And then you write for the artist, right? So you have to write to the artist to say, this is what I want the images to do. This is what I want the images to be, to communicate. And so that's the part that the consumer never, ever, ever reads. They don't, unless they're geeks and they're gonna get the, any kind of geek in any kind of medium are gonna read film scripts or whatever, right? But for the overwhelming majority of the consumers are never going to read a comic script. That's the part that you write to the artist. They don't ever read that. They'll read your dialogue and your captions and things like that, but they don't ever read that. So yeah, there's a huge difference in the different kind of writings that you do in writing a script. And the other thing, one of the things I noticed, and I don't know if this is kind of something that Aaron was touching on a little bit earlier. One of the things that I noticed for a lot of my film and television students who come into the comic class is that they have a tendency to really draw things out in multiple panels that don't need to be drawn out. Like, panel 1, he looks at the ground. Panel 2, shot of the ground, cigarette on the ground. Panel 3, he leans over to put his hand on the cigarette. Panel 4, he's leaning back up with the cigarette in his hand. Panel 5, he puts a cigarette in his mouth. It's like, okay, did we really need that many panels just to say he picked up a cigarette and put it in his mouth?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. And here is the problem with that, right? So in comics, our story real estate is dictated by pages, right? In film and television, your story real estate is dictated by time. You go to a movie, you have time as the story real estate. That's what That's what.
I
so
love
we're
that
doing-
saying, story real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so you when you watch a TV show, you have they're generally measured in minutes. I guess film is too, but TV shows are like 20 minutes, 42 minutes, things like that. Where a film is an hour and a half, something like that. Comic pages, the story real estate is in. I'm sorry, comic stories, the story real estate is by pages, and it's much harder to tell a 22-page story than to tell a 22-minute story, if that makes sense, right? And that's because for television, your pictures move, right? In comics, the images don't move, so you have to be selective, and you can't put all the little minutia movements of a character, because you're not really advancing your story if you're showing them, if you're spending 5 pounds of a person picking up a cigarette. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think also you can, and also a lot of
Sorry
that
for the mini
comic
lecture.
language. No, I think a lot of that comics language, if you were going to do something such as somebody picking up a cigarette, going through all of that, have it mean something in the context of the story. Have it be drama or something. You can do that. Just use it an effective tool. I mean, I think all of those things could be effective tools for storytelling. I mean, manga does that a lot. I even think Watchmen did a little bit. They showed just silent image. It can be done, but I think Roland's correct. If you're doing that all the time, yeah, we want to get to the point, right? But I do think that it's funny. When you were talking about time and real estate, I deal with that when I do motion graphics, because usually the videos I illustrate for like 2 minutes long.
Right.
And strangely enough, you'd be surprised at how long 2 minutes can actually be when you actually sit down. So a lot of times I will, if there's a sentence, let's say, Roland gets in his car, goes to the store to buy groceries. Now, if I was to illustrate that animation illustration has to be within the context of how long it takes to say that sentence. You see what I'm saying? So in other words, I have to, and you have to figure out, it can't be too long. I mean, I can never show Roland going out, getting in the car, starting the car, hitting the gas, going, because the sentence would be over. I would say the sentence, and then the animation still be going on. So you have to cut that down and keep cutting it down. It's almost like in a way you do writing. When they used to do writing, they're like, go re-edit your sentence, make it shorter. Go re-edit it, make it shorter. Same concept, but it's actually, I realized,
being concise
storyboarding
with your words.
Exactly. Storyboarding for other things has really helped me communicate in my comics, understanding what is needed and not needed, what can be tossed out. And also just clarity. Because you were saying when you were doing story scripts or whatever, when I do storyboards, no one's ever going to see those.
Right. Yeah.
Those drawings. And so you learn how to do, I will have, if there's somebody's head, I will take that head and make it a separate piece and just copy and paste it where I need it. I'm not redrawing those storyboards,
Yeah.
And so because I'm just communicating straight to the client what the animation is going to be. And so you learn how to just do shorthand. I mean, I used to do that all the time. Like somebody wants a car in there. I'm not drawing a car. I'm just tracing over a car. There's your car.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a different, but I think it can, I think doing some of that stuff, sometimes a little bit of maybe doing a comic where no one's going to see it, or that it's going to be translated to something else, because it helps you understand what is needed and not needed to get the point straight across, especially when the meeting with the client is only like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I still learn.
So Cassisi's got another question, which I really like, and I want us to talk about, because since there's multiple of us on here, we may get multiple opinions here. Cassisi says, it seems like where comics are right now, the next generation of comic book authors have to do more by themselves. A, would you say this is true? And B, if this is true, would you give the new comic book author the same advice that you just gave to focus talent instead of pushing to learn a few more things? I think I'd like Pete to address this first, since Pete's, if you don't mind, Pete, since you're kind of a fresh Kubrick grad.
Yeah, I guess there's more people now just going and doing their own thing, rather than waiting to try and get noticed by a big publisher. Especially for a writer, you're just not going to get hired unless you've got something you've done already. They're not just going to say, hey, You want to draw Spider-Man this week? So you've got to, an artist can send in portfolios and this is my stuff and do some test pages. Writers can't do that. You've got to show them stuff you've made. So yeah, writers you've got to go out and make your own thing. And normally, once you've written your script, it's on you to go and find and pay for artists and colorists and letterers. It might be a good idea to try and learn lettering. Save you a little bit of money, but also you're still writing the words and the stuff that actually goes on the page, and you can make some changes if that's when you're doing it. But yeah, so there is more. I think that the writers got to go and do it themselves more so than anyone else.
Take a business class too.
Yeah.
Did they teach business comics at Cubert, Pete?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So years 2 and 3. Yeah, to business class.
Good. That's one of the things a lot of creative writing classes.
All manner of things. Yeah.
Good. Cool.
Yeah.
Somebody else?
Oh, I didn't.
I wasn't listening to Pete. What did he say?
He's spoken already.
I'm just usually, Pete starts talking. I just kind of,
tune out. Yeah.
He's just a penciler.
Yeah.
You
and
the same thing to
me. He just keeps looking up. He's like, dude, that guy's still here. And
is he still talking?
Yeah, I think with writers, I think it's funny how, and I almost think the public can be your best judge if you have writing chops or not, more than editors. Because there was one writer, he gave me, I was at a comic book meetup, this group, all comic book creators would get together and we talk, and he gave me his comic once, and he completed the entire comic. And he's like, what did you think? And I had to be honest, and I was coming from just like as an actual reader, not an editor. He didn't want anything from me. I was like, I couldn't make heads or tails out of what was going on in the book. I didn't know. And sometimes if I think a lot of writers kind of need to maybe put something out before they go to an editor and see, because people are just honest. I mean, if they don't know what's going on, they'll just kind of ignore it. And if people aren't buying your book because they can't figure out what's going on, then that's, but then again, that could be, I guess it could be the art. But I was trying to give him ways to maybe correct the story or whatever, but that particular story came to an instance where I'm like, I think you just need to start over. And you don't want to ever say that to somebody who's put so much work in making a comic and actually finishing it, but it's kind of like, almost like, did you have other people like read like preliminary stuff of this? Because I do think sometimes, and I'm speaking from somebody that when I gave my old Goblins comic, my artwork, I was learning they couldn't make heads or tails of my art. They couldn't figure out what was going on. So I've encountered this personally myself, hitting this, where I'm like, you put all this work in, and they're just being honest, like, I don't really know what's going on. And once if you break any suspension where they have to work to try to figure out what's going on, you've killed your story.
Right.
You've killed it. And so it has to be absolute communication. This is why when I'm redoing Goblins and other stuff, my focus is on absolute clarity. Like I tell people that like read it, like, do you understand what's going on? Yep. Any questions? Nope. I don't even care about the art. I don't care if I'm even made mistakes. If you can figure out what's going on, I'm happy, because that's what I've been working at for so long. So but yeah, it's a huge killer. Some people try to be nice, but I try to be nice to people. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what to say. And it's sometimes, but it helps them as a writer, because if they can't figure it out, then it's on them to figure out how to communicate better.
So my students read a lot of comics, during class, particularly in the first couple of weeks. And sometimes they'll read them and they'll say they're confused. And a lot of times they'll say, well, I just don't know how to read comics. I'm confused. And I quickly tell them, no, if you are confused, it's because the writer has failed to do his job.
Right.
It's not your fault for being confused. It's because the writer has not given you the information that you need in order to move through this story without being confused. Right. And hopefully the idea, obviously, because they're studying to be writers, the idea is that they'll take that then and realize, okay, I was confused in this story. Why was I confused? Let me not do that in my own writing.
Exactly. And as many comics where And also, I mean, there's also, story flow or whatever, but if you break any sort of communication down, if it breaks down, it's a killer. Your comic's
Yeah.
kind of done. And if
Yeah.
it just kind of, but then again, I've had people who've been confused in certain parts of my stories and not confused by other parts. So there's sometimes where your story is clear, the people just are not getting it. So I mean, for instance, I was reading an omnibus of X-Men, Mark Silverstreet, but it was all in black and white, right? And I'm just reading this, and my girlfriend at the time looks over. She's like, "I don't understand how you can read any of that." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "I can't make heads or tails out of any of that artwork. I can't tell what it is." And I'm like, "Mark Silverstreet? This guy's a pro," but it was in black and white. And
Yeah.
she wasn't able mentally to decipher the shapes in the black and white. And I don't think Mark was also drawing it to be black and white. He's drawing it to be colored.
Right.
And so
there
she was
wasn't a whole lot of
confused.
depth.
Exactly. And so she was completely confused. She couldn't figure it out. So sometimes people just
Well, a good inker would have,
yeah.
given it depth.
Yeah. So it's
So-
it's
Barb, Roberto, what do y'all think? You have any thoughts about Cassisi's question?
I think that new artists these days have got a lot more pressure on them. You can look at the old way of doing comics, kind of like the old studio system in Hollywood back in the 30s and 40s. It was kind of curated. Everybody had their own niche. Marvel and DC, they would hire, first they had an editor, and then the editor would find a writer, and then he would find a penciler, and then an inker, and then a colorist, and then a letterer, and it was all, everybody had their own little niches, and it worked that way. It was an assembly line process, but that's not working anymore. For one thing, it's extremely expensive to pay all these people.
Yeah.
And you'll notice more and more these days that people are hiring artists who will do their own pencils and inks because they get two for the price of one.
Yeah.
And people who are wanting to break in are also finding that they can't afford the assembly line process, and you need to.
They can't afford to work in the assembly line process.
Right. Yeah, that too. So you have to be multi-talented anymore to put out your own book. But be aware that by going that route, you need to be confident that you can wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
If you're not confident enough in, say, your inking or your coloring or your letter placement, ask for help. I mean, there's a lot of people that are willing, that they're just as hungry as you are, and they'll be willing to jump into the same boat with you just to get a break
Right.
into the business. So
And I think that's vital.
You don't have to do it all on your own. And for God's sakes, please learn the business side of it, because it's not just making a comics. You got to pay your publisher. You got to pay shipping. You got to pay.
We got to print the book.
Yeah, you got to. The publisher, the printer. I mean, you got to pay the printer. You got to pay. You got to pay your royalties. You got to pay shipping, and so you would be surprised. Office supplies, the boxes, the bags, the stamps, all this stuff costs. And if you don't figure out what all this stuff is going to cost you ahead of time, you're going to be in for a shock. You're going to lose money. I think I have. I thought I had a book up here too that I highly recommend. There it is, right there. Kickstarter for the independent creator.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I sent this to you because every chapter in here details something that you need to be aware of. It teaches you how to budget and how to figure out what expenses you're going to need to cover to put out your own book, and it includes everything, that stuff that you don't even think about. Are you willing to pay for advertising? What kind of links do you have? You have to have a social media account, several social media accounts. You have to be willing to spend the time to put out posts on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit, or whatever you're going to use. And that's time away from creating. So all of this has to go into making the book. And if you're not willing to devote the time to social media, then you need to find a friend who would. So
Phone a friend.
I think the young people of today who are wanting to create, you're more likely to have success if you get a group of yourselves together. Like, oh gosh, Silverline.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very much a studio kind of feel. Yeah, I would say I echo Kasisi, a lot of what's been said here. I think that I think it's a mixed bag. I think if you're looking at the majors, if we still look at Marvel and DC as the big guys, I don't think anything has really changed there. Not to great effect. I know they're hiring more, international artists because of rates. It's cheaper to hire someone in the Philippines or in South America than it is to hire someone in the U.S. So that's purely economics.
We're also hiring more penciler anchor
Yes.
copies of some people
it seems like
their
with
own pencil
digital-
ink.
Or they're skipping the inks and going from pencil straight to colors. So there are changes, but I don't think, for the most part, I think Marvel and DC are still kind of like that. But I think what everyone else here said tonight is pretty accurate. I wouldn't. Knowing you, Kasisi, I would not recommend that you pick up a pencil and start trying to learn to pencil or ink or color. Lettering, as Pete pointed out, that's not a bad idea for you to learn. That's fortunately we live in a day where you can spend some money and get some really good fonts. And it's once you get you some balloons made in Illustrator, it's not that difficult to do. It's gonna take you some time, but it won't take you as long to learn to letter as it would to learn to ink or pencil or color.
Placement is important, though.
Placement is vital. Placement, you'll want to study that. But just the technical skills to learn to letter, that's probably something that you can do. And the thing that I think I like about it, and I think I mentioned this in class, the thing that I like about writers doing their own lettering is that you can write a script, and then once you go to place the letters onto the page, if you find out it doesn't work, you have the ability to edit on the fly. You might find that you've written a really long balloon, but the artist didn't give you that much space, and so your balloon would cover up the head. Well, and if you did that, the artist would go, "But dude, why are you covering up my head? Right? I spent time on the head. Look, I had a really cool eyeball there, right?" And so you don't want to do that, and so this gives you the ability to edit on the fly. You can either reduce what they say, or you can move the balloon to the panel before, the panel after. If someone else is lettering that, you don't really have that option because that's not a letterer's job. If that's all they're doing, that's not their job to edit. They're just going to letter it like you've got it. And if it covers up the head, it covers up the head. They're going to say, "That's your fault. You wrote too many words, right?" So yeah, I think that's a great skill to learn.
I know it's funny. I think technology has also taken up people inking pencil combinations, because a lot of times, if you like, when I did a few of the pictures in Clip Studio, I just drew it in black. There's no reason to draw into a pencil. You just draw it in black. I
Right.
mean, even just do like a quick underlined sketch and then just start drawing it in black. That way, you're literally drawing in ink because it's editable, like like pencil.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to do a pencil page and then do an inking page. It just doesn't make any sense. Just do whatever, kind of rough it out what you want, and then just start drawing it in black ink, and then you skip straight to the ink stage.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. Yeah.
Are you putting in your line weights, though?
I was gonna say there's more to it than that, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I am. I mean, when I do it, I do the coloring or whatever. It's the color of the pencil. Pencils. Gray. It's just a pencil. You just choose black as a color and then just go through it. Yeah.
So
I do my
I have
lane
a-
weights.
I have
Boy,
a
Barbara's
visual,
right on the ball.
I have a visual representation for one of the things that Pete talked about earlier. Is that one of the struggles that writers have is that when you compare writers to artists in the comic book industry, is that like I can show you a page of art and you can tell instantly whether you like it, right? So do you like this art? Do you like this page of art, right? you can make a judgment immediately whether you like it, right? Now, on the other hand, hey, do you like this story? What do you think about this story? Do you like this story? Tell me, do you like it, right? You can't do that, right? And it's the unfortunate struggle of the writer is that you got to convince an editor or an artist or somebody like that, whoever you're trying to show it to sit down and spend some time with it, where you don't have to do that with art. You can just show them.
And trying to get people to read your stuff, that is a universal struggle that will
Pulling
never
teeth.
end.
Yeah.
It is pulling teeth to get somebody
Pulling
to read, even to read your comics. Like, here's a free comic to read. I'm like, wait, I looked at it.
Hey, listen, have you ever been to a convention and offered someone a free comic and they say no, thank you?
Because it's work.
Hey, you want a comic? No, thanks, I'm good. What do you mean? It's a free comic.
Yeah.
Kasisi says this is all good. Very good answer. Thanks, guys. You're very welcome, Kasisi. Thank you for giving us some fodder to talk about. Woman says, I have presents for Roland Manna and Barbara Kalberg going to the Dropbox tonight. Oh, yeah. It's my birthday. Oh, yeah. It's really not. Mark Fenton, what's up, Mark? He says, or you can just hire Wes Loker to letter your comics. This is true, except that Wes Loker, the last time I talked to Wes was cutting back on his lettering gigs. So
Wes did the first issue of Divinity.
Yes, he did. It did a very good job. What Mark may not know is Wes is actually working on a Silverline comic that Aaron is penciling.
Yes, I hope he's not backing up. I hope he's not quitting on the lettering job.
Oh,
Have a wordless.
No, not his own. No, but I think he's taking fewer. The last time I talked to him, he was taking fewer outside lettering assignments because he's got a day gig and yeah, so I think he was just I don't know if he was cutting it back, stopping completely. So please, if you're thinking about talking to him, go ahead and do it. Let him tell you no, not me. But
actually, he edited Divinity, but he was really very detail oriented on the letters and the placement and the fonts and everything like that.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
Wes is sharp. Yeah, I'm happy that he and Aaron are doing the obsoletes. So gonna be a good one. Mark Fenton says that's awesome. Yeah, I agree. I think so too. So yeah, this and that.
It's gonna be a fun comic. I think it's one of sci-fi comics, so I think it's one of Silverline's one of the first sci-fi ones. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
To throw it into the mix.
Yeah, Wes is a good writer. He's got some chops. So yeah, I'm excited about that. My camera actually goes lower than I really thought it went. I don't know that y'all need to see all that trash in my floor. It's not trash, but stuff. Okay, those were good questions. Anybody have any additional thoughts on that?
I forgot what the original question was. I was listening to you talk about Wes lettering, and now I forgot.
Well, okay, then let me just rephrase it. Do you have any additional thoughts?
No thoughts in here. Nothing. There's just nothing going on. Completely blank slate.
Come on, you left it wide open for
Yeah. I forgot to get a Kickstarter update. Barbara asked me about it off before we went live, and I forgot to give the Kickstarter update. So Twilight Grim #2. For those of you who are still sticking around here, Twilight Grim #2 and Fire Rush #2 are at the printer, and my printer tells me that they anticipate them to be printed late this week. So hopefully, I've got my fingers crossed. Hopefully that's all true, and then we should be able to start fulfillment next week. So
what I didn't ask him about the status of the Kickstarter. I said, "Where's my invoice from the?"
that is true. Well, I think you said they all shipped, right? I'm like, no, they haven't shipped yet. What?
I said, "Are they printed yet?" Because I haven't seen an invoice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I gotta get the CFO. Boy, she drives.
Yes, because I said on Sundays I do the books.
It's always send me this, give me this. I need that.
Well, That's why you pay me the big bucks, right?
That's right. That is absolutely right. So
They paid me, in a bag of Lindor's truffles.
the big bucks. I'm gonna send you a big deer.
As long as it's chocolate, I don't care. I get paid in chocolate.
Yeah. All right here. So Roberta, the page is looking really good. I really
Thank
like
you.
all those blinds and the shades, the
It's
shadows.
cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it looks really good. I think just kind of peeking at this is one of my favorite pages.
Yeah, it came out good, didn't it?
Yeah.
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 I think it's really dynamic and it's
Yeah,
just
me
not-
too.
Moody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And more than moody, it's just the ink is a little different on this one. It just has a lot.
Still not
Lot of
convinced
a-
Peter can actually draw, but this is okay.
I'm not convinced either. I'm blagging an awfully good job.
Trust me, I've
Right.
had many of those pages where I'll look at my work and I'm like, they drew that. What the hell? I didn't know I could do that.
I'm looking. I'm doing stuff now. I'm thinking, yeah, Roberta will save that in the colour.
I'll figure it out, right? Oh no.
It'll all look good once it's coloured.
Yeah.
As long as I understand it, then all's good. If I don't know what you're trying to convey, then I don't know what the color.
So I'm going to tell you a secret here. I hopefully Tommy's not listening. If he's listening, I'm going to be in trouble. So on the first issue, the Silverline team up, right? Tommy says something. Hey, Roland, what's happening in this panel? I didn't have the artwork in front of me, and I said, well, on this page, here's what's happening. And he goes, but I can't tell what's happening in this panel. And I looked at it, and I said, he goes, never mind. I'm just going to ink what's there. I'm like, okay.
That doesn't help.
It wasn't a big panel, right? It was a smaller panel. And he inked it, and he said, and like two days later, he said, well, Pete liked it, so I guess I did a good job.
I've got no idea what's going on.
He said, I still don't know what's happening in the panel, but Pete liked it.
What page was that?
You know what?
Faithfully coloring it. I mean, or covering the lines in kind of the same arc and angle. You might be able to reproduce Pete's thoughts without actually understanding it.
Yeah, let me. It was pretty early. Let me see if I can't find. Which
That's kind of
page
funny though.
It was very funny because he was asking me, and I'm like, let's see, wasn't. Let's see here. I think it was when Pistol and Nim were fighting, and I think it was when Nim was falling.
You know what? I had trouble with that one panel there. Just
which
and I think I
panel?
know what it is.
Wait, which panel? Which panel did you have problems with, Roberta?
The one he
Which one did you have?
actually fell. The one where he actually fell during the fall. There was a ceiling coming down on you, and it's just. It took me a bit.
Yeah, I think the one on page 5. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 panel 8 just before. It's the one that crosses over.
Yeah.
What?
Just rocks falling or parts of building falling. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he was asking me, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, I think that's the hole there, and
Hey, it's fine. It's fine.
What? And that's what Tommy said. Well, I'm just gonna ink what's there, and
see if I could find it there.
Not an important. It's not an important panel.
It's page 5. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Can you see it?
Not yet. No. You got to put it on your. You
I
say.
have to share it.
No, I don't know. No, there it is. Yeah.
Roberta's got it.
Yeah.
That big chunk
Yeah,
of
that's
it
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're just like chunk of ceiling coming down in the middle of a firestorm.
Yeah, I wasn't really quite sure what that one was either.
Well,
so I just saw
now.
ceiling.
Everyone's having a little jab now, aren't they?
Everyone's jumping on your feet. Sorry, that wasn't the That wasn't
Hey,
the
that's-
purpose.
No.
Not the
Oh, that fire
intention.
looked cool there as well. I like that fire looked good.
Thank you. Yeah,
I
wait
know.
till you see the page hit. I'm like just doing little fix-it details, but you'll all see it soon.
Oh, Jim,
Nice.
Oh,
it's
you
saved,
kidding?
it's saved in the color. Saved in the color.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was no jab at you though, Pete. It just like sometimes if we're all on the same page and we totally get it, then it's a very
Yes,
easy
yeah.
transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I shall
God
start
knows,
leaving
I've
notes
even looked.
for Tommy.
I've gone back and looked at stuff that I've drawn like later and be like, what was I drawing there?
What is
So
it? Well, I don't understand your last comment. I realize that I probably lost it in translation to our conversation. But you say, I think that to Peter. I'm not sure.
I think it
what.
means. I think that too. Roberta was.
You know, these pages have a very
Oh, I think that I got you. Yeah. Two
Oh,
O's.
cool.
Yeah.
Peter, I
Gotcha.
think these
Got it.
pages have a very, very much of a Jim Steranko feel to them, don't they?
I'll take it.
That's cool. Yeah.
Thanks. Take it. Should say that to Jim next time I see him at convention. I don't know if you know this, but by purpose, I draw like you.
It's very film noir.
So who are some of your
This-
influences, Pete?
My
This
influences.
particular page.
I grew up
especially.
with Jim Lee, Michael Turner, Mark Silvestri, and
Mm.
the Image guys. Really.
Yeah.
Michael Turner massively. Yeah, I remember
early
seeing
Image
those
guys.
issues of. Yeah, I remember seeing those issues of Witchblade
Yeah.
Hmm.
and Fathom.
yeah,
And,
Fathom was the one
This
I liked
guy-
a lot. I remember him more. from
This
Fathom.
guy can draw. This guy can draw women. This is why can't I draw them like that? But yeah, Jim Lee, I suppose. I mean, the X-Men was my big thing as a kid. So I used to love all that stuff. And then Adam and Andy Kubert, once they left, and they sort of became the
They
go-to
might-
artists at Marvel.
Yeah.
Might have
Yeah.
to break on my photoshopping for a minute. It's not responding to me.
Oh, it's not?
No. Mm-mm. Don't know why.
There's
We're like
still
15
one
minutes
comic
to the
and
end
one.
anyway.
There was a comic
Let me
done
try
by.
this. Nope.
I think is
The-
it Chris Bacalo? Is that how
delete
you
won't
say his
work.
name?
Yeah, I don't know how
Bacalo?
to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, you may just have to crash it, Roberta, and then
Yeah.
reboot it.
Sorry.
There's still one panel, one comic. I've even gone back years later and tried to. I still can't figure out what he drew. I have no idea. He's a great artist, but there's a few panels he does in comics. So I'm like, I have no idea what you're drawing, Chris. But I'll just keep going because I'll figure it out.
Did you ever see
But
the
yeah,
Adam Strange that the Kubert brothers did?
What
I
Adam
didn't know.
Strange?
Adam Strange, yeah. Oh, it's a gorgeous book. And the Adam and Andy both did it.
Oh, that's interesting. They split it in half or something.
You know what? It's been so long since I've seen it. I don't remember exactly how they divvied up the chores, but I know they both worked on it, and yeah, it was a gorgeous book, gorgeous. Might have been Prestige format, late '80s Prestige format stuff.
Oh.
Oh yeah, when they used to do those.
Yeah. Just that first cover, it just still in my head. It was a good book. I can't even remember who wrote it. I don't think they did, but I don't remember. Anyway.
It's funny. It's some of the Joe Mad was a big influence on me. Katsuhiro Otomo, who did Akira, that guy's off the chart, especially with backgrounds. Oh my, unbelievable, that guy. I look at his stuff, but I'll look at a lot of stuff. You know, it's funny. I tend to notice that I actually will look at more artists for background ideas than figure ideas. Like Mark Schultz does fantastic foliage for, and the Xenozoic.
Yes.
Like, and I'll look at stuff like that to get ideas on how to draw stuff. Figures not so much, but background stuff. I'll buy comics if I like the backgrounds, as weird as that sounds. I like these backgrounds.
Not
and stuff.
weird.
Yeah.
Bill
No.
Reynolds does wonderful rainy scenes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was a book by Jim Henson. I can't remember. Jim Henson did a script years ago, and they turned it into a comic book. I think it's called.
The Muppet guy.
Yeah, the Muppet Guy. And let me
Muppet
see if
Guy.
I can find it over here real quick. They turned
CC
into a
says, have a good
comic.
night, all. Thanks again. Thank you, CC.
Oh,
thank you
thank
for
you.
posing all the really good questions. Appreciate it. I don't know why I'm looking over there waving. So she's waving right here, right?
Yeah.
I got the comments on the screen over here, so I'm looking over there waving at the comments.
This is done by
Oh, it is
Ramon
10:49.
K. Perez, and it's called The Tale of Sand. And it was a movie script that Jim Henson wrote,
Mhm.
and they turned it
I
into a
think I
comic.
remember seeing
But
it.
the
Yeah.
artwork in here is fantastic, and he does, strangely enough. Let me see. He does really good stones, like
Mhm.
rocks, and so I basically keep him out here to look at. Let me see if I can find any pictures, like when they do like stonework in the desert.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like, and this is why I come to with artists where I'm like, this guy does really good rocks, really good trees, or something, and that's what I'll take stuff out to look for.
Yeah.
Because my characters are kind of stylized enough that I know what I'm doing pretty much. If I have trouble with anatomy, this is my anatomy book. I even know what it's written by. I got this in college, written by David K. Rubens. This is my go-to anatomy book, and it's just literally like, heads, but he'll just take the body and break it down, and just your basic, and then he'll go side to side and side to front, and
So have you seen
just
those
sort
little
of basic muscles. Yeah.
stick models? Those little wooden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you got one of those?
And now they have ones that are gray. I
Yeah,
get confused though.
that.
Those are the
Is that
ones that
wooden
look
or
better.
plastic?
The ones that are.
Those look plastic
Yeah.
from here.
They are.
Look,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, fully
they're
posable with the
pretty
way the
cool,
human
yeah.
body moves, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Do all the fingers and everything move as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
different hands I can put in them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People do. I say the wooden ones. I never could get into the wooden ones because I always felt like
Well, I
I'd
have a
be drawing
hand.
like wood. Yeah, the wood hand. There you go.
Don't do that.
You know where I'm going,
I
don't
know
you?
where you were going, yes. I'm like, stop that.
All right.
awesome.
I have all kinds of crap in my studio. I got 30 years worth of
Oh, yeah.
stuff in my studio.
So here, I guess
As
here's
far
the
as
question:
artists,
do
did
you
you-
spring clean your studio?
I am spring cleaning it right
think she
now. It's all
does.
falling apart.
All right. Well, I guess it is 10:52. We're running out of steam a little bit. Because Cece's not asking us any more questions that gets us going. What about it? Anybody have anything else to say? Y'all watching Captain America: Winter Falcon?
I haven't seen the last episode yet. I haven't seen it.
Oh.
The last episode. Yet.
I hope they do another sequence of them.
Okay. If you haven't
because it was
episode-
amazing, and now I'm looking
Yes.
at the Loki.
Yeah. You need to get on that, Pete. It was a good last
I know.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
They're
good.
talking
Good
about
last-
Seen the
making
last
another
one either.
Captain America film now, aren't they?
They are. Yep. And
I
after,
need to watch that. Yeah.
yeah, after you see, I mean, they hit all of the, maybe not all, but they hit so many geeky buttons in that last episode. I was just like, something that happened, I would go, oh yeah, that's right, yeah, right. Something would happen, I'm like, I told you. Of course, I'm watching it with BJ, right?
Yeah.
And something happened, I'm like, I told you that would happen to this guy right here. And
It was good.
she was just laughing the whole time.
Does anybody know if they're going to do another season of Man?
Of what?
The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eventually.
Oh,
I don't know.
I
I would
hope so.
assume so.
It's way
Yeah.
too much money for them not to, isn't
yeah, really?
Yeah.
I mean, because they kind of come to a point where he gave the baby.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now what? But I
Yeah.
really, really want them to continue.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to come up with another. They'll have to come up with another quest for him, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Unless he gets the baby back somehow. Make it a
Yes.
Or
way.
if Luke
Kidnaps the
Skywalker.
baby.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been watching. Strange enough, I've been watching the Godzilla movies. Because I started watching Godzilla versus King Kong, and I was like, I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, oh yeah, these are all connected. So I started watching it. But I did finish that Godzilla commission. So I was actually watching Godzilla while drawing.
Oh, he asked me about
Godzilla.
it on Thursday.
Oh yeah, here I'll show it to you.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, good.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, Steve. If you're watching, there,
that's-
that's yours.
Yeah. That's
Very
my Godzilla.
cool.
And it's funny how much of a, because I thought he'd go more lizard-like, but he's much more of a humanoid. And I was like, well, yeah, I guess he's a dude in a suit, so that would make more sense.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And then, because I was
Yeah.
thinking,
Especially if you ever watch any of the
I
really
worked on
old.
that one. I worked on this one here.
Oh, really?
Did
Yeah.
you work on that one?
Dark Horse.
I thought about not putting all the
Wow.
scales in there, but I'm kind of like, well, that's kind of all Godzilla, isn't he? He's kind of all scales and stuff. So that was
Yeah.
kind of fun. So yeah, that was kind of got me. But I was like watching Godzilla. I actually liked that original Godzilla movie they did. That and the King Kong, I
Mhm.
thought were actually pretty decent.
We went to the theater to watch Godzilla King Kong on this past week, so we saw it. I haven't
Yeah.
seen Mortal Kombat yet. Have y'all seen Mortal Kombat?
I want to.
No.
It was, you know, it's funny. I watched it. I just felt kind of indifferent. The one thing was strange enough for a movie about fighting. The fights to me just didn't. And one other reviewer said this too. He's like, it's not that they weren't like choreographed well. They just didn't have impact. Like they didn't feel. Have you guys ever seen the movie The Raid? Any of the Raid movies?
Mhm.
The Raid Redemption. If you ever get a chance to Indonesian movies, a few of the guys actually starred in one of the John Wick movies and the Star Wars movies. Of course, they didn't use them, but they're just kind of like stunt martial arts movies. Fantastic. If you like martial arts movies, they're up there with like the
Well,
best. These
we're
guys.
really behind on,
And,
on our stuff, so we're just catching up on Cobra Kai.
Oh, that's
You
a
know,
good one.
Cobra Kai-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We're also watching
It's
Hannibal.
funny. I was thinking, oh, is it Hannibal?
Well, we're also catching up on Hannibal.
I like Hannibal.
Oh,
They don't have a single actual melody in that. It's all just gongs and drum taps, and it's all very discordant. There's no actual songs. And
some of you guys have watched Invincible, right? I think
I
Roland
haven't
watched
seen
the
it yet.
first
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, I watched the first episode. Yeah, and it gets really bloody at the end.
It gets intense. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets intense, and so I'm not sure if I can convince BJ to keep watching it.
I was curious because I knew, like I
It
said,
was
I think
good
we
up until that very last scene, and it's kind of like, oh, ugh.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's the one thing I was kind of curious, like, well, you know, the comic was kind of its own thing, and I think we talked about, me and Dante, I think we're talking about that the last stream after air, and there's a big twist at the end that comes with it. So if it's in other words, like if you watch the first season and like the twist, fine. If you don't like the twist, then but it is very strange because it's animated like a Saturday morning cartoon, except they're cursing and there's blood. It's anything but that. It is.
Have you seen the Harley Quinn show?
No, I want to watch that though. It's
really
on,
funny. But the
yeah.
first episode shocked me. I was like, "Whoa, this is not for kids, is it? This is definitely
Yeah.
not for kids."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it
yeah.
animated?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't
It's
seen
really
that.
funny. It's really good.
I've never been able to bring myself to watch The Boys, even though one of my former pencilers, Derek Robertson, was one of the
Yeah.
creators.
Oh, we
But-
should get Derek on.
Yeah, we should. But I want my heroes to be heroes, and that whole dystopian look at heroes, and it's so bloody and violent, and I just have never been able to bring myself to watch it.
That's a big problem. That's kind of one of my things about a lot of but yeah, that one I watched even the second season. And I was just like, so this is just a show about a bunch of awful people being awful to each other. There's just no redeeming qualities about any of these people. And I was like, it's sometimes when I watch stories like that, I'm like, who am I supposed to be rooting for? Or am I just supposed to be sitting back and watching like the car wreck in slow motion, like rubbernecking all the chaos and violence? Is that honestly what I'm supposed to be doing here? It's like,
don't ask me.
do I care if any of these characters die? Well, considering how they act, I just assume they all need to die. I mean, they're all horrible to each other. They're just absolutely horrible. So
you keep waiting for someone good, someone really good to come along. Yeah.
And say what you will about the DC and the MCU movies, there's always the good guys and the bad guys, and the good guys win, eventually. And everybody has somebody to root for, and that's what I like. It's uplifting. Even if it's dark and gritty, it's still uplifting in the end.
Yeah, and they're not perfect, but you know. But,
I don't know. A lot of modern TV is very almost, and so I was, Invincible's a completely different beast. And I was really curious about that.
I haven't watched beyond that first episode, and like I said, I'm not sure I can convince BJ to watch more. I'll watch it. I would watch it myself, but that the time where I watch things alone is very, very, very rare. Just because,
Right, yeah.
I mean, I do, but it's just like I just don't have time. If I've got a block of time for myself, I'm usually working, doing something. So I do that too.
And then I just fall
Hey,
back to
look,
my
I don't ever make it a secret. Friday night is my game night, right? That's when I play games, and I have fun. I enjoy it.
I've been watching mostly Family Guy. I don't know. I get it
That's
going
great.
back to like instead of watching, I just throw like old Family Guy episodes in, or like Star Trek or something.
Didn't Roberta? Didn't some old Malibu folks? Didn't they work on Family Guy?
No, I don't think so. Maybe you're
Okay.
thinking of Chuck Maiden, who was working on King of the Hill.
Okay. I
Yeah.
know. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know
think
any
you're
of the
right.
creators of
Okay.
Family Guy.
Yeah, I know. Albert Calleros went on to work on like Rugrats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking, if you guys, I watched a documentary. I think it might be Hulu. It was about the formation of Nickelodeon and they call it the Orange Years.
Oh, that's
I grew up with Nickelodeon. It was pretty interesting. If you get a chance to watch, I think it might be Hulu or something. I can't remember. I think it's called like Nickelodeon the Orange Years or something. But
one of my only Hollywood credits is we're working on Angry Beavers.
What?
yeah,
Cool.
and that's one of my favorite shows. So I was like super excited because that was like one of my favorite cartoons. So when you worked, I'm like, oh, you worked on Angry Beavers. But yeah, but yeah, that was it was pretty interesting. I was watching I'm like, wow, I really did grow up with all of this stuff. Oh, okay.
All
I
right.
think I did. Yeah, a lot of.
Go ahead. Finish.
Oh no,
Okay.
that's
Well,
it.
our clock says 11 o'clock, and so I guess it's time for us to wrap up. We have talked about this and that tonight, and it's been kind of fun. Thanks to Kasisi for asking a whole bunch of questions. Big shout out to Daytona Beach Comic Con for being our sponsor, and we appreciate them. And you should make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con in September. And I never can remember the exact dates. Let's see if I've got a calendar open. It's like the 18th that weekend. So if you can find that weekend, make your plan. Well, just look up Daytona Beach Comic Con online, and you'll find it. There will be a lot of comic book. If you're a comic book fan, there's all kinds of comic book goodness there. So yeah, don't forget to tune back in on Wednesday. Our topic for next week is going to be sidekicks. So we'll be talking about sidekicks. They'll talk about sidekicks Wednesday. We'll talk about them then next Sunday. Wait, Wednesday is what is today?
Today's first.
22. What?
So
today's
Wednesday'd be the 28th.
Today's the 25th.
Okay, yeah.
And then Sunday, next Sunday's the
May the 2nd. Okay, all right, good deal. Yeah, so sidekicks. So I am Roland. You can find me on all the interwebs. Look for Roland Man. Look for Man Roland on Twitter. Barb, where can folks find you?
Under Barbara Kilberg, under DeviantArt, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
So Aaron, what about you? Where can folks find you?
The Facebook's on Aaron Humphreys Illustration. The Instagram at ALH3810. And then Webtoons, which I'm updating another update of issue 10 on Godlings. Yes, tomorrow. I'm trying to remember, like, am I doing stuff tomorrow? And what am I doing the next
You
day?
better be doing stuff tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
Pete, what about you? Hey, Pete, are you still teaching?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'm really busy, so it's starting to eat into my productive time. So I'm not sure how much longer I'll be doing that for. But yes, I'm still teaching. Teaching assistant.
Yeah. Where can folks find you online?
Google the Peter Clinton art, and you'll find me on the internet. You will also find me on the Instagram via the internet.
Is that on the internet?
It's on the internet.
Would that be on the World Wide Web?
I can only imagine so. The internet connects you to all these things where you'll find me.
Fantastic.
Roberta, what about you? Where can folks find you on the World Wide Web?
I can be found under Roberta Conroy or Roby Conroy in Instagram and Facebook.
Excellent. And until next week, you know what we say.
We make mine.
Make mine.
Make mine
Silverline.
Silverline.
Good night, everybody.